strategies would you recommend for someone who needs to become more visible without feeling like they're boastful or self-promotional? Are there any examples that you can share?
Absolutely. Great question there. So I think I'm going to start with the disclaimer right here. There's no one size fits all. Let's go back to the research phase. I teach a rich strategy where if you want to be rich, let's identify your niche, right? So now the companies that I worked in, these are all award-winning companies. We had process built in for talent pool. So if you want to be visible, you can't go there until you figure out what's the career ladder internally, the talent pool. So for example, I wanted to be a leader someday, and I had to start with the prerequisites, which is what does it look like as a long-term, the goal? What does it look like when it comes to short-term goal? And if I want to be leader in 2 years, I can break my head, but if I've not met the prerequisites that company wants, I'm not going to be leader. I have to hone that skill. So the first step, again, is researching. And the second step is identifying your SWOT, which is your strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat. Who are your competitions? There's a flat hierarchy. If you don't know what that is it's your colleagues out there. It's your competition. So when the next promotion comes in, who is most likely going to be visible? So that's a strategy you're going to have to build in. That's called marketing plan. Before you start being visible, clearly identifying your strength, weaknesses, and maybe upgrading the skills if you need that as a requirement to get a promotion. The third one is company's culture. I mean, we've worked with the companies, and I know some of you are probably working with the companies where the promotions are probably going to the favorites, right? You got to identify the historical data. How are they getting promoted? Is it based on the career ladder? Is it based on networking? Is it based on, smoking buddies and golfing parties, happy hours, right? And when your values do not align with that kind of work politics, do you still want to get promoted? Because the environment's going to be still the same. So you got to really identify who you are. Does it align with your values and moral? Are you going to go and hang out with the people that you don't feel like, I want to be part of nepotism or favoritism? Because there are a lot of companies that are doing that as well. So again, going back to the history and how people are being promoted. And the last thing we're going to touch up a lot, and I'm going to talk about this a lot based on my lived experience, is how are you influencing influencer? And that might not be your boss.
This is so insightful, Sweta. And I love that you brought the SWOT analysis into that, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, which we are often taught in business, but we can do that for ourselves. And it's so incredibly impactful. I was wondering, is there a time that you can share with us when one of your clients had a breakthrough where they finally understood what was holding them back from getting promoted? And how did they bridge that gap? And what can we learn from their journey?
Absolutely. So recently one thing came up was one of my clients. He was fantastic. He's an introvert and he's such a hard worker. And he's in the field where, it's kind of like year end comes in, then there's no work-life balance. So he thought that, well, you know what, it is what it is. So I'm getting probably a lot of work because it's a year end, it's accounting field, right? So he was okay. And then he was ready to quit because he was thinking, you know what, I'm going to get burnt out. I don't feel like I'm not going ahead with this, right? Mm-hmm. So he was ready to quit. So when he hired me to work through together, here's what we did. I gave him the framework, the exercise on it. What is something that has been added in his plate and he should not be doing it and he's not getting paid for it? So it turned out that his manager who hired him went on a mat leave. And in Canada, mat leave is between 1 year to 18 months. So there is no substitutes or replacement for the manager. So this new manager comes in and kicks in, and then she starts to delegate the role, her things, thinking that that's what he should be doing. And there's a misalignment with the expectations with the bosses, the new boss, and him. He was like, I'm done. I want to go outside, right? So here's what we worked on together. I told him to put all the worksheet, and he was in, finance field. He put everything in there, and I kid you not, it was, he was blown away by how much responsibilities he was assigned. He was not even aware of it. He was not getting paid. So we worked on one-to-one strategy, one-to-one coaching with the managers. We built the plan, which is 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. So by 30 days, he needs to talk to his manager, showcase the productivity, and he needs to talk about how he needs to either delegate that task to the new hire, which he was part of it. He also took on the leadership role where he's sitting down in an interview, he's hiring people. That was nothing like that when he signed up for the work, right? He was literally being a leader. So we built the case together on how his title needs to be changed. He needs to make more money on it. And there was a data to support it. And then in 60 days, he got promoted 40% more. And he went on from no bonus. Now he got promoted. Title was changed as well. He got stipend bonus as well for that year. And then the rest was the history. The problem was not getting promoted. Problem was he was not advocating for himself again. And he brought the data, put the thought through, and by the time performance review came in, manager already said, okay, you got this, we'll promote you, right? And guess what happened? When he got promoted, he got delegated even more. So he's like, this company, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to take on more and more, and I'm going to go outside. By that time, we already figured out the short term, which is getting that title, getting more money. So when he moves out, the exit plan, he's now going to be on top of the dollar. So then he went out, he quit, and then he made more than six-figure plus more bonus, and his reporting line is now directly changing to, reporting to executive, right? So sometimes what happens is promotion could be internal for the short term, because when you move out, you already have the exposure and you don't have to fight back. Title does matter. Negotiate it. Anytime when someone quits, someone goes away on a leave of absence, build a case. Either give me the replacement or give me more money or make my title something similar to what I'm doing right now, right? This is really important for promotions.
That's huge, Sweta, that you coached him in advocating and speaking up on behalf of himself for the work he's doing, and got the title he was looking for, got the money he was looking for, and then got promoted outside. Wow, what a success. That wouldn't have happened if he wouldn't have advocated for himself and had those conversations.
And I think it would not have happened, to be honest, if we just talked about it, if I did not assign him the task of productivity chart on Excel and monitoring how long does it take, one by one task, like even to the point, I want everyone hearing right now to just define the productivity. If you're going from here to that desk and the file takes 5 minutes, to put from one desk to the other one, that's a productivity, because people don't see it. This is exactly what the companies are doing when they're measuring the productivity. They will tell you, we need you to give us how much time you spent on things, and you are not thinking the teeny tiny detail, but that matters when you get the promotions, but you have to have a data.
Yeah, and that's huge. Having the data helps so much to advocate for yourself. And that also helps to not have it feel like you're boasting or self-promoting. No, you actually have data showing what you've been doing. And I have another question here for you. In this example, or in general, often promotions come down to demonstrating leadership potential. And what do you recommend as an effective way for example, mid-level professionals to showcase leadership skills, even if they don't officially hold a leadership title?
You know what? What kind of leadership is really important as well. So people are thinking leadership is always about leading a team. First, define what kind of leader you want to be. There are the leaders who are individual contributor who do not want to manage the team at all, but still want to be leader. Is it title? Is it money? Is it work-life balance? And then find out that net promoter score. Which in top companies, what happens is when we talk about NPS score, is basically what they're talking about is would you refer their products or services? And that has to be applied to your personal branding as well, which is literally saying, if the next leadership role comes in, is my net promoter score status yes, green, or red? So when somebody says, there's a leadership potential and there's a talent pool, we're going to be creating it. When your name comes in, is the boss or boss's boss thinking, that person's not ready? And if that's the question of that person is not ready yet, what does it look like to be leader on that particular department in that company? That again comes to the culture research phase, right? Who are the next leader? How are they picking it? Number one thing I did, actionable advice from my leadership days, is if I wanted to become a leader, I wanted to try it out and already prove that I could be leadership ready. So I asked my manager, when I was working in the corporate world and banking sector, we already had a career ladder defined again. So I figured that out where I want to be. So when the new hire kicked in the batches, I said, next time when new hire kicks in, there's a project going on that the next leader would be coaching them, working with them, training them. So I took on the role for more than 5 months to prove it that I'm ready to be a leader. I honed my skills and everything. And I didn't get paid higher for that. I volunteered for it. I got paid, but then again, my thing was exposure, right? And guess what happened? Next time when the opportunity came in, I already proved everything about myself. The data was there. And then I got promoted. So sometimes leadership is all about shadowing, learning, going to the department and letting people know that you're ready. And then people can see it. You have to prove it at that time, because at that time they can't say, well, you can't be the one. You already did it, right? So that's probably a good strategy if your company has that. Try it out. Try it out, because you never know. If you think leadership is all easy, you might not like it. Grass is always not greener on the other side. And that actually gives you the opportunity to test it out as well. Are you a good fit? Would you like it? Would you like, sometimes people say, I don't like babysitting people. It's not me, right? Sometimes people are like, I love coaching people. I love promoting them, right? So are you one of them? You would only find out when you go and try it out.
I fully agree. And it's so powerful what you said, that when you prove that you can do the work, no one can argue with it. So really looking for those opportunities where you can prove your leadership skills in small ways, in bigger ways, because then when the position open up, as you said, you've already shown that you can do it. Now, I'm really curious on a slightly different topic, since I'm an immigrant myself. I'm from Germany originally. And there's a lot of our listeners here listening in from, I think we have 18 different time zones. So we're all over the world. So this is a really relevant question. And for ambitious immigrant professionals, there can be very unique barriers, cultural perceptions, biases that might hinder advancement. What is one strategy they can use to not just overcome these barriers, but thrive in the pursuit of six-figure promotions?
Right. I am personally immigrant as well. I immigrated to Canada. I immigrated to States for a bit, and then I came to Canada, right? So the funny part as an immigrant, I can speak for myself, is we love hanging out with our kind of people. And there's nothing wrong with it, because we like to get that sense of belonging. And I've seen in the corporate world, when I used to sit in the lunch together, it'd be my kind of people who look like me, who talk like me, people with the accent. English is not my first language. And I would be really hesitant to actually go and talk to people who do not sound like me. That was me before I became a manager, leader in the company. Here's what I changed. I changed the strategy of, I need to hang out with people who do not look like me, who do not sound like me, who's already there where I want to be one day. And that would not be my kind of people. And sometimes you might have to ditch people. And you're not being selfish. You're looking out for yourself again. Learning the different type of environment is the key. Again, understanding, not trying to fit in, right? Immigrants are a cultural ad. Let's put it that way. We are not trying to fit into the box of cultural fit. But in that event, you don't have to compromise your identity. You need to find the right people. Again, the influencer who's already been there. And chances are the influencer could be someone who came in as an immigrant, who climbed up the ladder. Now you're going to go back and ask questions to them, have a coffee chat, informal interviews and stuff like that, to understand how do they get there. And the second one would be people born here in this country, also learn from them. And understanding the hierarchy is really key. And over in different part of the world, the culture is different. I know the countries where you cannot look at people in the eye and talk. It's really completely not normal. Eye contacts are scary, and you're not supposed to look at people's eyes, senior people, right? Here, it's completely different. It's more collaborative. And I used to be so intimidated by title. Oh my God, I never had a balls to go and talk to managers. No, I would never cross that line. That was the mentality I had until I figure out to have a skip level meeting, not to talk about my boss, but let my boss know what am I working on. And that's a must have, because your boss's perceptions is going to transfer to boss's bosses. And guess what? When the promotion comes in, most of the time, bosses already know you from your boss. And that's all perception. Are you perceived differently? Do you have a different perception of yourself as an immigrant versus the boss's boss has a different one? So don't be working with the promotion blockers, which is the boss. And you need to understand whether you're immigrant or you're born in here, you really need to understand and meet the expectation of bosses. Understand the key performance indicator. Again, what matters to you? Are you working on the right key performance indicator, right? That's what matters. Otherwise, being visible mean nothing. I can be visible in organization all day. I can have a coffee chat and everything. But if you're not meeting the minimum requirement of the current role, your boss is not going to promote you, because your boss is going to have to write the recommendation. I had to do that to promote my people.
100%. And what this really comes down to for me is being incredibly brave. As you were saying, it is the comfort zone for all of us is to surround ourselves with people who are similar to us. We naturally gravitate towards it. So being really brave and surrounding yourself with people that you want to be in contact with and in communication with is a big step out of most people's comfort zones. And I love that you at the same time emphasized, do that without compromising your identity, but surround yourself with people with influence, with people who are where you want to be, because they're the best friends to show you how to get there. And Sweta, you are such an incredible expert when it comes to resume and LinkedIn strategies. So I want to bring this topic in here as well. And there's, as we know, the internet is filled with conflicting advice on resumes and LinkedIn strategies, from the worst to the best advice. But from your perspective, what's a common misconception about crafting a promotion-worthy profile? And what's a powerful tweak or addition that can make a big difference?
So there are two kinds of strategies, right? If you're trying to get promoted internally within the company versus if you're trying to quit and have an exit plan to get promoted somewhere else, different kind of strategies, right? So like, first of all, if you are trying to get promoted internally, here's what I did. I mean, I was on social media being a company's ambassador. I was celebrating companies each and every event. I was on the social media tagging the influencer, companies, VPs, CEOs, right? They knew me as a person who is huge in social media, right? So when the promotion came in, they already kind of knew me. And also internally, I'd like to ask people who are watching right now is, does your company have the innovation zone? A lot of companies that I've worked with it is there's a committee where your ideas are heard and the feedbacks are implemented. So we used to have a thing called Orange Spark, where you actually go there and call out the process improvement gap. And then you also provide the solutions. And I was huge on that, right? So I also told my direct reports as well to use that to get you noticed depending on where you want to go. You want to go to project team. If you see something that needs to be implemented, go and vent it out with the solutions. If you just come up with the problem with your bosses, I'm not there to manage your problem. Give me the solution, make me look good. Guess what? Human nature. Bosses are looking after their promotion as well. If you make them look good and if you give them credit, it's a collaborative approach. Hey, boss, here's a problem. Here's the solutions. Do you want to talk to your boss? Can I set up a meeting with both of you? Take that credit as well. And if your boss is a promotion blocker, if they're taking credit as well, don't call them out, but go above, have a skip level meeting and say, well, by the way, I was working on this one. This is the problem. I identified it. And there's the solutions that I actually forwarded to the project team and my bosses as well. I would love your feedback. What you didn't bitch about your boss. What you did was influencers now know that you're part of that too, right? So you need to learn how to not burn the bridges and go over the boss, because boss's boss is going to talk to the boss. Why is this person coming to me? So you got to have strategic move for internal promotions, influencing the influencer. External is quite a different. We're going to be all day here. It's all branding, doing the right thing, knowing the product, knowing the trends, and talking about where you want to go. You want to be fraud analyst, fraud manager. You talk about fraud, what's happening in media, talk about it, tag the company, stuff like that. So much you can do as an influencer on the social media. Doesn't matter wherever you are, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever. If they find you, they need to see you as a thought leader.
100% I'm with you here. And it really comes down to knowing where you want to go. There's not much help in showing up on LinkedIn or other platforms talking about things, everything in the world. But when you are targeting a specific industry and a specific position in that industry, speaking to them directly, huge. Now, we shared so much advice in today's session. To wrap up, before we go into Q&A, and we've already gotten fantastic questions, but audience, please feel free to drop more questions into the Q&A, into the chat for our Q&A section. For anyone listening in here in this conversation, and they want to commit to one actionable step starting January 2025 to fast track their career, what would you suggest and why?
Absolutely. So going back to the research stage, right? Identifying your short-term goal to get to the long-term goal. You can't just bite the whole elephant at once. If you want to be leader someday, if that's you and you want to be leading team, which team? Do you have a transferable skills? Right? Do you have the skills that company would want it? For example, if you want to be in finance, is CPA one of the requirement? Are you seeing the CPA people are getting promoted? If you want to be in project department, is PMP one of it? Is Six Sigma one of it? Is Black Belt one of it? So you got to really identify who are getting promoted and start planning. And that's a short term. Also asking your manager for support, which is the personal development budget, if they have it. Why does it benefit the company as well? And then that's all about collaboration with your manager and having the real expectations that you understand. Are you working on your expectation or your boss's expectation? If there's a misalignment, I'm a boss, I'm thinking you're not ready and you think you're ready, there's a great misalignment. Don't let that be you. Talk to your boss. Your boss cannot read your mind. Plan the short term. I want to be leader, boss. I've done this. I think I'm ready. Tell me why I'm not ready. And if your bosses give you vague feedback, you're not ready, tell me how I can get there. I'll get it done for you. And if bosses says, I need strategic planning from you, what does it look like? Can you give me an example? I'll get that done in 30 days. What does it look like? And recap it with the documentations on a performance review. Performance review is not about running the laundry list of what went wrong. If your boss is doing that, you're working for the wrong boss. Performance review is all about moving forward, setting up a short-term and long-term goal. And if promotion it is, you got to make a case. Boss is not going to watch out for you. You got to watch out for yourself because his performance review, he's watching for himself. He wants that promotion as well, right? So tell your boss, how can I make you look good? Let's work together. Let's get it done. So if it's a right boss, they are creating leader. They should be creating leader, right? If they're not creating leader, that's not the boss you want to work for. So go out, exit plan, get promoted outside, not internally.
Huge lesson learned here, Sweta. And I love that you're really big on communicating because as you said, your boss can't read your mind. And I think we so often assume that people in our company or in our life, they know what we're doing and they know where we're working, what we're working towards, because isn't it obvious? It's obvious to us, so it must be obvious to them. But they have their own lives, they have their own work, they're super busy. They might not know what your goals are. They might not even know all the work you're putting in unless you communicate it. Now, we've gotten here some really great question in the chat, and I want to start it off with talking about strategic vision, since you just brought that up as well, Sweta. How do you build skills in and showcase strategic vision?
See, I'm telling you right now, if I'm a boss and if someone tells me you need to build strategic vision, I'd be asking boss, what does it look like? Can you give me an example? I don't know. Strategic vision could be based on the department to department. So I'll give you an example, right? When I'm working in the corporate world, strategic vision for CEO might be completely different, but that trickles down as a vision and goals downwards always. The right company would give vision here, and that trickles down to his manager, his direct report, and by the time it comes down to the lowest one, the vision changes. Department has a different vision. So I would ask back again, the question is, what does it look like? I would go back to the boss and say, what does it look like, right? Strategic vision is what? Okay, well, am I meeting quota, sales quota? Is that the vision company wants to? Because I'm going to be adding that vision. Is that part of the vision as well? Be crystal clear on what does it look like. Those are vague feedback. I don't have a clue. What does it look like, right? You need to go back and ask your boss, what does it look like? And I don't have an answer for that. How do you showcase that? until you know your company, your boss's expectations, and your key performance indicator, because it's all tied up with how your performance are measured on it. So this is how you start with key performance indicator. This is where your performance are being judged. You're promoted based on meeting that expectations. Your net promoter score for the company is tied up as well. So you need to understand this at the rich level. Again, researching, identifying culture and the historical data.
That's big. Having those conversations. And as you said, the strategic vision is going to be different in every team and every company, but it's a fantastic conversation to have, especially as we're going into the new year. It would be a great question for you, set up a one-on-one with your manager and ask, I really want to build my skills in showcasing my strategic vision. Where do you see our team going in this year? Where do you see the company going in this year? And then you can come back with ideas of like, okay, I really thought about that conversation that we had, and I would like to work on A, B, and C to really support that vision. What do you think? And then get on the same page with your manager. Now, the next question we've gotten is, I was given a sort of end of career role at 30, subject matter expert. I'd advocate for a role change to get up the corporate ladder. However, I was told there was no development plans because experts are experts. How should I have challenged that?
Well, okay. To me, it sounds like there's a dead end. You're going to be stuck there. So I feel like, okay, here's the thing. What I would do if I were you is, I'm done. Like, I would ask straight up to the boss, like, where can I go from here? Right? Where can I go from here? Is there nothing at all for me? Then you need to go out. You need to absolutely go out. And if you really love the company and the bosses that you're really working towards on it, then you actually go out there and create your own role by partnering with a different department. Maybe the role is not there in that department. Maybe you can build your transferable skills and transfer to the other department. Have you thought about that, right? Just because a role is not there, you're an expert on that department, that does not mean that you cannot move outside that department, but you need to get a buy-in from your boss as well. But if you're told you're done here, you're an expert, there's nothing else, and you feel like you want more, then it's time to revisit it, have an exit plan on it, and negotiate or leave, honestly, because you've been already told there's nothing else. So why sticking there, right?
Yeah. No, I miss you, Sweta. And I would also add to that, being very clear about where you want to go, being super clear about the role that you want to get into, and then having a more specific conversation with your manager of like, okay, in whatever your goal is, within 2 years, this is my goal to be at this level and in this role professionally. What do you see as a reasonable progression from where I am now to getting there in 2 years? And again, as Sweta said, if the boss said like that is impossible in this company, you can't, then you have to make the tough call is, do you want to stay there or do you want to move out? And we'll have time for one more question, or maybe even two. So the next question, that's an interesting one. How do you communicate your lack of motivation after getting positive feedback, but not seeing any increase in incentives due to bad timing, M&A, funding, layoffs, or other changes with the company?
Okay, so that's such a great question, right? What I'm hearing from this is, was the lack of motivation due to the money factor? Was it? It sounds like it. Despite the fact that you got amazing reviews, positive feedback, you didn't get an increase in incentive. Were you expecting it? Just because you got the positive feedback, does that mean that everybody gets the incentive? What does it look like? The process look like? When I'm doing the performance review with my staff, the process was identified before. So anyone who actually gets certain score on it, let's say 3.5 or something, they got like a 3% salary increase, right? Was it not communicated? It should have never come in at here. Like, I would love to know, what was the positive feedback? Was it based on performance review? What is the process within the company? And this is where misalignments are happening. Were you told you get positive review, positive score, then you should have gotten the raise, and that's why you're disappointed? Or you're expecting it? Is that the norm in the company? Is that the culture in the company? And I could see the layoffs happening, why would they give you the review, right? And they will just make it smell like you should be grateful you have a job, right? Do you feel that, right? And this is time to revisit it and have exit plan if you cannot get promoted. Remember, no one's holding you there, right? You create your own motivation. If money is the motivations, if they're not giving it to you, go out there and create your own motivations, and that's the exit plan. Promotion does not have to be internal all the time. As a matter of fact, most people who switch every 2 years in a certain sector, they make more money. Do it.
Yeah, I'm with you. If you can't get promoted internally, you have to look out for yourself first. And as you said, Sweta, it's, for me, this should not have came as a surprise. If you have, and if it comes as a surprise, then going into the next year, if you decide to stay where you are, is having those conversations in the beginning of the year. And you can say, I was disappointed to not have gotten a pay increase last year. I want to make sure this does not happen again this year. And how can I prepare? What are the KPIs I need to meet? Where do you want to see my performance within 3 months, 6 months? Maybe even you could negotiate, can we have a 6 months review of my pay? And what are the KPIs I need to meet for you to consider this? To be very, very explicit. And then again, I would say to communicate your lack of motivation, I would not communicate it in that way to my manager. I would vent outside of the company, but with your manager being very clear about, okay, this is what I want in my career, role, tasks, money, and getting their buy-in, how to make it happen. And let's do one more question here. Oh, this one is good. What advice do you have for navigating internal promotions when the process seems ambiguous or based on politics rather than performance?
Oh, wow. I've been there and I talked about it, right?
Yeah.
So again, it just misalignment between the values. And I don't know, I also created like a lot of videos about workplace politics where people have their own, the community of people, and they just like to promote one another and they just advocate for one another, right? If you don't want to be part of it, the ball is in your court. Don't be part of it. If you want to be part of it, then do it strategically. And honestly, I participated on the work life, work politics in a different way where I'm hearing everything. I need to know what the projects are coming in for my understanding, and I'm going to go back, work on it, and create the case for my bosses, where I'm going to say, by the way, I heard that this is coming up in a pipeline. I would love to take on that special project for a couple of months. Can we do that? Right? And you don't have to participate and backstab anybody, but listen. I want every one of you to listen to the water cooler talk, rumors, everything. Zip it. Don't add anything. Work politics, you don't have to play it very hard. Just listening and then working towards your goal. And you do what works for you. And the values are misaligned, and you cannot do that. You cannot attend the happy hours, golf. You cannot go and hang out with a certain type of group. The ball is in your court now. So you go there and do it strategically, work it out with the bosses and influencer where you never had to do it, or quit and go somewhere else. If you continue to see the politics that are happening, you're not going to be there, people. Now you are going to be someone who's going to quit and go somewhere else, because you're never going to be promoted if the culture is like that. Even if you make 6-figure million, doesn't matter. The environment's never going to change. Next promotion comes in, you're not going to be the one. So it's time for you to self-reflect and say, can you work through that journey all your life?
You're absolutely right. And it's a harsh truth. But if it's a company where promotions are made at the golf course, and this is not what you want to be doing or what you want to be part of, it is a decision you have to make for yourself. You know this is the reality. And if this is how the company works, you can't really work around it. There might be one-offs, but for the most part, you're absolutely right. You have to make that tough decision. Do I want to play the game of the company I'm in, or am I moving to a different company where I feel most aligned?
You can't control work politics. You cannot control the work politics. What you can do is whether you want to participate strategically and surround yourself with people who lift you up. And if you cannot advocate for yourself, you need to be surrounded by those people when they're in the room, when your name comes up, and they are the one who's going to put your name in room full of opportunity. If you don't have those people, you are out of luck.
100%. Sweta, this was fantastic, and we could keep talking here for hours, but we're at the end of the hour. But I want our listeners to learn where they can follow you, learn more about you, learn more from your work, and connect with you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for asking that. So I do have a free class. Whatever I talk to you about today, I teach most of it inside my career promotion program. And I have webinar you can see in the screen as well. And I teach you the framework 4-step, which is whether you're looking for a new job, exit plan. I teach you the rich model there and how do you craft it, the marketing plan, how does that work and everything. So go and sign up and you get the free workbook as well for a limited time just for you today. And it's all yours. And you would know a lot about yourself you didn't even know before. Trust me on it. That's been a feedback. And thank you so much for inviting me, Teresa. It was a pleasure to come back again.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to having you back here a second year in a row. This was absolutely incredible. I can't wait to hear the audience feedback on all the nuggets of wisdoms you shared with us today.
Hey, everybody. Hopefully you get promotions by next year and you got this.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Sweta. I really appreciate you taking the time to joining me here today.
Thanks again. Pleasure is mine.
Wow. What an absolutely incredible session today. We've explored the subtle signs that your career strategy might not be working, impactful shifts, and how to demonstrate leadership potential, whether or not you have the title. Tiffany Human and Sweta Regmi shared invaluable insights on how to fast-track your career and land the promotion you deserve. And as we discovered in this conversation, it all comes back down to career clarity again. If you want to get promoted, that really important first step is to get crystal clear about which role you want. What is it that you want to be doing on a day-to-day basis in your next role? And then you can craft the actual strategy to reach that goal and communicate that goal with the decision makers in your company or outside of your company. Promotions aren't just about hard work. They're about working strategically, building visibility, and aligning your efforts with your career goals. And as we wrap up, here are your 3 next steps. 1, reflect on today's key lessons. What insights stood out to you? Write them down in your 12 Days of Career Goals guidebook. 2, identify one concrete action to implement. Be specific. Is it going to be scheduling a feedback session? Is it going to be updating your LinkedIn profile? Is it going to be practicing how to advocate yourself? Write one action step that you're committing to in your 12 Days of Career Goals guidebook. And last but not least, make sure to join the discussion in our Slack channel. Share your reflections, connect with other ambitious professionals, and get support as you apply what you've learned today. The link to the channel is in your emails. Thank you again for joining us today. A huge thank you to Tiffany and Sweta for sharing their expertise. Be sure to join us again tomorrow for another empowering session on taking control of your career in the corporate world. Here's to 2025 filled with clarity, action, and